I think you need to actually go full bore with it, like make it bluesy.
Okay. Well, which will be easier.
That's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't hold back.
Okay.
Just do that thing where you're overplaying, the sustain pedals down the whole time.
Right. Totally.
Don't make it sound polite.
Okay.
The stars were just the holes punched in the shoebox that gives a creature all the air he needs to breathe. What are we doing now?
They were still setting up for that. They wanted to do it in the bathroom, so it's all burned out or something.
What are they doing in the bathroom?
Nothing you can handle, pussy.
One of us is just slams. Like that one's gonna open up the record.
Yeah.
And that one is gonna knock people on their ass.
And one.
And one. Yeah.
For the joining one.
Oh, okay. So 3, 4, and 1. Count in and play it there. So just and 1.
Like an intro, like a real menacing.
And we just do the same thing, and then we'll want to do anything different.
1, 3, 4.
One of Us is the first track on the record, and it's probably the heaviest song on the record, or maybe in our band's history. With that song, it's sort of, the idea of it is sort of about meeting someone that comes from a certain world, you know, their family and their friends and their just lifestyle, and noticing really quickly that they're at odds with it, and they know that, but they're not willing to admit that, and then it's finding that, you know, they belong. They're supposed to get away from it, and they're supposed to, like, you know, in this particular song, they're supposed to be with this singer, this narrator. You know, you look like one of them, but you talk like one of us.
It's just one of those things that it's sort of hypnotic because of the way that it goes, the shape of it, and then when the chorus comes in, it's just a nice relief.
In a secret land built behind the shelf, by chance and repetition, maybe not a good intention. I'm pretty sure I know the way myself. There could be something cool there.
Interesting round.
Yeah, something like that could be cool.
See what happens if you just do, and just see what ends up clashing. Just repeat it.
1, 2, 3, come on. Your old flame is still counting up his money. In a secret lair he built behind his shelf. By chance and repetition, maybe not into temptation. I'm pretty sure he knows the way himself.
That one was cool. We definitely had a couple little moments on there that were just trying to figure it. Sometimes songs like that are hard, at least for us, to play, because, you know, it's like if you play a song like that wrong, it kind of just sounds like a crazy, like, thrashing, like, repeated riff. It's like we're just really aggressive all the way through, which is cool if you're Metallica or something, you know? And then, but so it was, you know, it was a little harder to find, like, our take on that kind of, like, intense, like, repetitive, like, rocking feel. But I think in the end it was cool. We did a kind of a weird thing on one of the verses where we all kind of, like, straightened out and made it super kind of, like, disjointed until it falls right back into it afterwards. And that was cool. Definitely a little, like, weird to do and something we don't normally do, but I think in the end it's kind of cool.
big influence for that song, I think we talked about it before, but a big influence for that song was Liftoff
Oh, yeah.
from Watch the Throne.
Right.
That riff with the horn line
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like the staggered rhythm of the riff
Yeah.
was something that I always, I mean, everyone has heard that song, and it's obviously really infectious.
Yeah.
And when I played it back, I wasn't thinking it when I came up with it, but once I started playing on guitar with the band, I was like, oh, this kind of reminds me of that in a way. It might not remind anybody else of that.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously, it seems like it could be just a, heavy rock riff. It doesn't seem like it is taking anything from a hip hop record. Jurassic Park.
We're all gonna die.
Yeah, totally.
What if I tried something else? Like this. 3, 4. And it's in the heavy 7. Face me pretty cool. I would dance and sing with every single line, like it was you up on that stage.
We're all gonna die.
Definitely, I think paints the nicest, most unique sonic picture. I think. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just think it's the most unique sounding song on the record.
Try not to get upset. Let it all go by. I got it, it's 29. Because how can it be that bad if we're all gonna die? We're All Gonna Die I thought it was funny to have a song called that, and I feel like that's a phrase that's just part of our vernacular. Like it feels almost like one word when you hear it. There's an association in that phrase. Like in the song, like there's a person in the back of a plane screaming out, "We're all gonna die." Or there was a time where in Lenny Bruce's stand-up routine during the Cuban Missile Crisis, like if a joke wasn't working or if he was doing a bit that he wanted to get away from, he would just kind of break down and scream, "We're all gonna die," and people would laugh. And so the power of that phrase did a thing for me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to kind of explore, the contexts in which that comes up. And also, to a certain extent, it's an autobiographical song. I mean, they all are, but that one maybe more broadly, because it's sort of about losing touch with why I started writing songs in the first place, and what it meant to really deeply care about the work that you do, or anything at all. And I think in the song, kind of reminding myself it's not that important. Let's really think about our position in this universe and how brief and ridiculous it is, and not to take anything too seriously, including any sorts of anxiety about am I gonna write a great song?
The break on the going into the second chorus, do you sing boom, boom, boom?
Yeah.
I tried to double it, but you didn't sing it.
So I normally do. Let me try it. So she would smile and close her eyes and think about her life.
Going into it.
Yeah. While some boys.
That melody in that song is coming from a different place. A different place than the melodic voice on a lot of the other songs on the record, and different from that R&B world that you're talking about. You don't really hear the I mean, it's more like America, or like a weird kind of melody that Chris Stills would have come up with, and like Manassas on a ballad. It's a different era, and a different genre, and a different planet than where all of the references are sort of conspiring to meet from. And I'm excited because it feels like that's the recipe for really making a new statement, creating a new sound. You don't give in fully to any one influence on every level.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have it be a combination of influences in order for it to actually end up sounding like something that's not directly inspired.
I think it exemplifies influences. It embodies influences that we've never really shown on other records, like for instance hip hop music, or like fucking 94.7 The Wave, or like whatever, like just smooth music. At least that's how my mind sees it. And I'm the first to admit that I'm probably the worst judge of my own music, or we all are. But yeah, I mean, that one seems to me not the most derivative, but the most different, and the most of like a departure from our previous material, insofar as that it's clearly influenced by other types of music than what we've been influenced by in the past, and what we've shown to, I guess, emulate in the past.
Him and Blake are very similar in that they're just these crazy like musical brains that you just can't even keep up with. So I was so stoked to have him come in, and then also just him and Blake like working together was just like such an insane thing. It was like Rob is like a complete string section like in one man's body, and it's like so that skill will blow my mind forever watching it. Like it was like Rain Man or something. He's like in there being like, now I'm violin 1, now I'm viola 2, now I'm violin 3, and just like stacking strings, and all of a sudden within like an hour you put up the fader and it's like a fucking orchestra is in there, and he's just like picking out parts. And then Blake was like, his ears are so good, it was like very easy for him to keep up with Rob, and then just have like little ideas, and Rob's so fucking good that he could completely like hear Blake's like slight note and be like, you mean like this? And it'd be like the most incredible fucking next line you ever heard. So them two together on the strings essentially was like mind blowing to watch. It was like, I mean, who doesn't love hearing strings on their own music? But like, I can't fucking, if a guy came in to play strings, I'd be like, do like, like bring in the bow and then like tap it with the bow, and kind of do that thing that it's like, I don't know what the fuck.
What's the is it about like where the where that hits and how fast the shit follows it, or just like I do a better job?
More just like being more confident about the pocket. You're the only one illustrating that subdivision. Hit it one more time.
Yeah.
I need to know your secret. I'm asking you for help. How do I fall in love with anything like you seem to do so well?
I love the subtle undertones of R&B in that one.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I had in my head when I was coming up with the piano parts. Like, there's a certain swagger to that track that isn't on the rest of the album. I mean, it's just such a different song, but it's got like a really smooth bounce to it. And when we were, doing pre-production, I felt like it could use like a bit of a hip hop element to it coming from the keys. And I just happened to be on piano when we were working it up, and it's just that little high register part is something that reminds, I think, a lot of us at a certain age of something that Dre would do.
Yeah, do that.
One thing I thought that could be cool for that,
Rocking the tiny classic.
because he has a really good voice for like long toned and good falsetto. If you and Griffin wouldn't be too terribly offended, if Jim came in and did all the harmonies, that would sound so cool.
So you'll hear him go, "We're all gonna die," and that's the end of the chorus. Then the next one he sings is the cue for you.
Oh.
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just like, just do what you feel.
It's true, nothing matters because we're all gonna die.
Yeah. Perfect. Let me hear it against the first one to make sure that one's good. It's cool. Yeah, it's great.
Cool.
It's weird. They rub in that right way.
Rub.
You're a genie in a bottle.
I think we all loosely conceptualized what a song like "We Were All Gonna Die" was going to sound like, or the influences that were going to pervade it, but didn't know exactly how it was going to get there. So I think somebody like Lake was integral in getting us there.
They were really trusting with me in situations where I wasn't sure what we were after was going to end up where it was supposed to be. But I pretended like I was.
Praise God.
We changed some words to roll with the punches.
Oh, really? What did you
Yeah,
change?
we changed the chorus. The gotta roll with the punches. Till you give it a thing. Till you give it a thing. Which I think is better.
What was it before?
Like stay on your feet. It was just kind of like, not I guess filler. And I wrote a last verse.
What's that?
Well, I didn't write a last verse. We moved the past and future synthesized one to the last verse, and so I wrote a second half to the second verse. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It was which commitments are negotiable? Promises you make when you're alone. Deciding what you finally forgave. What he takes to his grave. Learning how to not pick up the phone. Yeah. But it's actually it's the ascending melody. What she finally forgave, what it takes to his grave, learning how to not pick up the phone.
Roll with the Punches might be my favorite lyrically to sing. I feel like it was really indicative of a new voice or a new approach to lyric writing for me. I don't really know how to articulate that very well, but it just felt fresh in a way that was really enjoyable to sing or to listen back to or whatever. It's a song about separation, it's a song about divorce, but it's not about two people. It's about the sort of archetypes of what that means and how a lot of it manifests in details and how we don't think about those details. And sometimes those can be the saddest parts. You know, like I remember reading The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, and she talks about how when her husband died, out of the blue, and she goes back home from the hospital and she finds his like money clip in his drawer, and like it's those moments that really broke her heart. And I feel like with separations, it's those moments where you realize like, oh, I gotta give them this rug, and it's something that feels otherwise so like inert and not romantic. But I feel like it's when that romance meets real life, and how one informs the other, that forces you to reckon with it on both levels. And I feel like that's when it hits deepest.
What a crazy film. It's great. Time seems right too, right? Yeah.
Roll the Punches is cool. It's one of those ones where it's kind of got this just like chugging straight ahead groove on it that we just have to figure out little tiny things to just kind of tweak on that to make it slightly more like original and just kind of have a weird thing to it. So we kind of picked it apart, got that going, and then got like some insane keyboard sound that kind of just sounds like a crazy cool guitar. Had that going on it, and that one came together pretty good. It was just kind of like a nice song. You can just kind of listen to that weird, bass and drum part for a long time. It's cool.
And also the mark that it leaves. In the last verse, he starts existing as a miracle, a band of static right behind your eyes that you filter everything through without quite knowing you do, a past and future synthesized. And how they'll never be the same again, even though we all look at those decisions as a fresh start. It's never that. Your steps forward are always informed by where you're coming from, especially when you spend a lot of time shaping yourself and shaping your concept of a relationship or a connection on this other person.
Blake was intent on like recreating hip hop type of feel by like just having me push every backbeat a little bit. So every backbeat's a little bit rushed, but then the downbeats are always dead on. So that was challenging and forced me also to play it like very, very straight, which is what the song calls for. No cymbals, which I think makes those choruses stronger. Yeah, I mean that song I think is fucking, for us is probably the most poppy.
Well, I do want to say about Roll the Punches that I really love how when people hear it, I've had several people have asked the same question, like, how'd you get your guitar to sound that way in the beginning? And it's so fun telling them, like, that's lead, that's a clavinet through an amp. And it's so funky, it's so fluid, and it sounds so good, but it also sounds otherworldly. Like, how is that being played? And I think that's one of my favorite things about the record in general, or any record, when you get to those moments of like, I don't know, my musician's mind can't make sense of this, and so I'm forced to hear it as a as any listener would, of like, this is a thing that was created and I have no understanding of how, and it brings me, and it gives me a certain feeling. And I think Blake is a real master of that, like learning how to get certain sounds, or learning how to blend certain sounds to force people to say, what the hell is this? And I think that keyboard in the beginning of Roll with the Punches is a really cool example of that.
Be still or break everything in half. Find free will in the drawing of a bag. Kill what you want or save everything you can. Be still. You're the picture of a man.
And Picture of a Man. Oh, we said that. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't work that. We didn't do that one. Also, alongside We're All Gonna Die, I think the biggest departure for us, maybe. But nothing like We're All Gonna Die.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, we're the connecting link. I love that tune. Jason Bozell wrote it.
Okay, fucking, what's your name? What do you do?
My name's Jason Bozell, and I'm a musician.
I wrote this song with Jason Bozell. It started as more of just like a guy and acoustic guitar kind of folk song that he was writing, and I had that riff I was hanging on to. So we put those two things together. I wrote some more lyrics, so we kind of rounded it out.
Didn't you give them Picture of a Man a while ago?
I did, yeah. That was the first song that Taylor was like, "What are you doing with this song? Could we use it if you're not gonna like put it out?" And I was like, "Sure." So that was 2 records ago. I think they originally were considering it for, is it Stories Don't End? Yeah.
And so wait, so you just had that song just like lying around? You just wrote it and were just like, cool, that's just gonna collect dust over there?
Yeah. I mean, much like every other song I've written since Hustler Son record.
You know, a lot of the process was just playing the part that I had come up with, and Blake would just kind of be there with his ear, you know, to either the amp or whatever pedal, you know, and just finding like that sweet spot, which in a couple of instances was very fine.
Yeah.
Like you turn one knob or play one thing too hard, like, and you just go that too far with it, it's too much, and then anything before that isn't quite enough. I mean, there was a lot of time spent and really, like, you know, in the attention to detail, which I loved. I mean, it was a really inspiring process.
I think I knew that there were gonna be quests, you know. But we love a good tone quest. We're always down to just, if any, you know, all of a sudden if any band member needs to like put the sesh on hold for a minute just to be like tone quest, and then everyone just kind of know. It could be, you could tone quest for 10 minutes, you could tone quest for 2 fucking days, you know.
How did you feel towards like the tone quests you were going
on? I mean, I was loving it. It's pretty, you know, intricate. I mean, it really like put into perspective for me, like how much you have to care about the most minute detail in order to get the sounds that Greg and Blake are able to get. And it opened my eyes a lot in a way of like, oh, this is okay. I need to care more about like these things, or not, or like, you know, shit that like my ear is just not tuned to. Like I'd be hitting a drum and they'd be like, oh, there's less attack on that and I don't like that. And I'd be like, I don't hear that. Like explain to me what it is that you're hearing. 'Cause to me, it sounds this way. And Greg would be like, well, listen to that. And it's like, oh, I get it now. That makes total sense. So it was really informative and awesome. The Tone Quests, for sure. And fucking, yeah, fun. I mean, I think that's like that's what we crave.
Alright, here we go. This is it. Just that fucking feel.
Bozell has such a quirky brain when it comes to how he chooses to describe anything, that it stands to give Taylor tools to use to convey things that I think he's wanted to. So it unlocked something for this band and these songs.
How do you like how it came out?
I love it.
Yeah?
I mean, I'm a sucker for that. It's like a mutated, like, reggae, kind of thing, which I'm a big fan of. I think it sounds great. It's one of the coolest sounding tracks.
Yeah.
On the record to me.
Yeah, totally.
And it's considerably different than when I first wrote it, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do
you think it's like it's gone in like a better direction?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like giving like a fucking like, oh, here's a picture of my grandma to like some epic painter at the mall that like paints this like dope grandma portrait. You're like, oh, that looks sick. She looks better than ever.
There's a lot of like little additions that really felt like a big part of the song, even though they didn't get there to the last minute. Like we didn't have the girl's vocal part until like the day before we recorded that song. Blake was like, I really feel like that chorus, it ends somewhere, and I still wanted to just take me one more place to really feel like we let it bloom, Because that chorus feels like a refrain where it's all these words and then it funnels into that title. That's how it hits my ears, at least. And then to bring in those girls after that, to reiterate it, but also bring in a completely new feeling with this completely new sound, was so cool. And it was the girls from Lucius, and it was Mandy Moore.
Oh man, can you picture it? Picture of a man.
When the girls come in singing, it just takes it to a whole nother level. I mean, Jess and Holly just destroy that track, and Mandy too.
Yeah.
And like all three of them, like that's a highlight for me on the record, is when the female vocals come in. It's just like, what?
This is really great. You guys are doing the picture of a man's lady parts.
Those dudes, Taylor and Blake, are obviously exceptionally musical, so they hear things in ways that I don't naturally hear things that quickly. And so I mean, he made the two of them together made that song something otherworldly.
That riff, the da 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 da, when you were doing it in the low voicings. Yes. Try that together. Fuck yeah.
In the depths of dizziness, I picked a fight with myself like a real roughneck. And when you don't know who you're dealing with, threw a hell of a punch, but I couldn't connect.
Oh, looks so pretty from a distance. We live inside a story that we tell. Live inside a story that we tell. Baby, we were once designed out in the cosmos. There's a way of asking, there's a way of asking questions about itself. This song started as a like a piano ballad that had nothing to do with what it sounds like now. It was different words, it was a completely different melody, a completely different feel, but it had the same idea, less than 5 miles away. And some of the vignettes were there, like the rider one in the last verse, and the shifty fortune teller one. But a lot of it just kept changing, and I continue to kind of look for how to give it its own personality. And I've never done that before, but I've always kind of written a song and I'm like, that's the song. I'm not willing to, I mean, not that I wasn't willing, but I just never had any, I was never motivated to, or ever even thought why something needed to be reshaped. And I think if we were to have left less than 5 miles away the way it was, it would be another mid-tempo piano ballad that would have a lot of reasons for not being on the record.
I love what Blake and Greg were doing. They were capturing like idiosyncrasies, like the way Wiley was hitting a string. So if you listen to that bass drum part on 5 Miles Away, it's like boom, 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 but you're hearing like boom, ba ba boom, ba ba ba, and the ba boom doesn't exist at all. Like I didn't play it.
Yeah.
But it fully sounds like a drum. Like I can't even now listening to it. I'm like, did I play that? But I didn't play it.
Yeah.
And it's the way that Wiley's like anticipating a note or something. So it's shit like that where it's like so much based. It's so often based around the finesse, how it's being played. You know. And not only is like that. Contributing to the tone is contributing to the overall arrangement of the song because you're hearing things that otherwise like you wouldn't hear.
That one is just so cool in the way that the whole thing develops, in my opinion. Like things come in and build, like the keys don't come in until maybe like the third verse. A full drum kit doesn't come in until the bridge. And so I think the arc of that tune is really good because it's sort of a storytelling type of song. I think it helps give it, you know, a nice shape and an arc, and it kind of comes back down the way that it started. It feels really cool to kind of have that shape to it all.
You know the great writer that left us, well, his house is still around, like an old dead volcano that sleeps over the town. They're gonna turn it into condos, they'll be done by New Year's Day. This is all happening right now. it's all happening right now. I've done a couple interviews where I've explained this record because this record doesn't always come up because it's not really even, while we're having this conversation, it hasn't been announced or anything yet, but people have asked me, about the record. And I've said that it's almost like a negative image of our last record. I think at least in terms of the band dynamic. With the last record, bass and keyboards were much more of a supportive role. They're really great performances, especially on songs like Now That It's Too Late Maria, like Wiley's bass playing. There's a lot there, but it's still more of a platform for the guitar and drums to kind of interact the whole record, and it's very. I don't know what the word would be. I hope it's not self-indulgent. I mean, it's very much about the dance between the guitar and drums. Every guitar solo on that record feels also like a drum solo. I would do something and Griffin would respond, or Griffin would do something and I would respond, and I love that for that reason. That's a big part of why I love that record. And with this record, with the addition of Lee, he's such a phenomenal musician, and he has so many amazing ideas that are so supportive of a song that I found myself just getting out of the way a lot more. I found myself just kind of playing the simplest thing that I could and watching him and Wiley really kind of step into the light. And so while all your favorite bands felt like this guitar and drums record, I feel like this is very much more of a bass and keyboards record.
That one was cool too. That one's great to play. I was just kind of like vibing on that one super hard when we were doing it. I could play it for hours and hours. It's just kind of like, it was reminding me almost of like one of those like Stevie Wonder type grooves. It's just like kind of like weird take on like a pretty standard groove or whatever. And then, but yeah, I think it sounds great. All the stuff Blake added, he ended up putting on like a super cool like electric bass, like kind of like rhythm guitar part at the end, and it like kind of took the whole track to like the next level.
Did the songs on this record evolve more than any of the songs that have ever been previously like brought to the studio and recorded?
Yeah, and that's happened more and more, like with each record. I think with the first two, it was just like, that's what I wrote, so that's what we record. And Jonathan Wilson, our producer, had very much that sort of like Zen approach to it as well. Like, I don't want to get in the way of what came out of you organically initially. But I think as time goes on for any songwriter, any artist, period, you can't just wait for the muse to show up and just to be inspired and just to leave it. Like, I think eventually you're like, wait, what goes well with what we just recorded, what we just put out, and what's gonna be the most fun for us to interact. What brings this out the most? And so that was something that I've thought about more as time has gone on, and just I don't know, just like songs used to just come out naturally, and now they're just carved out, and they're just you want them to be better. You want them to be in a way like speak to your whole body of work, like referential in some way. When I wrote Things Happen from our last record, it was like 6.5 minutes, and I'm really glad that we took the time to say, it's not necessary to keep rolling and keep singing these words. I think the point is made. Mm-hmm. And yeah, with these songs, some of them had that similar experience. Less Than 5 Miles Away being a good example, where it took a second to become something that felt truthful.
To tell myself, hang in there, man, roll tide, roll tide. It can't be easier to swim
crushed it, and then obviously I'm a sucker for my little baby boy Griff, you know, so any chance I get to hear him sing, there's no amount of money I wouldn't pay.
We were lucky to have, like a song like Roll Tide, which I didn't write. It's a Jason Bozell song. And Jason, he's in this band Phases, and he was in Rilo Kiley, and he was in Bright Eyes for a long time, and he put out one record, and he's an incredible songwriter, but he doesn't really pursue that as just a singer-songwriter. He doesn't tour that way or make more records, but he still writes great songs. And he played us Roll Tide, and we were all floored by it. And at first it was just a guy sharing a song with his friends. And then as we talked about it, he was like, if you guys ever wanted to cut it, like, consider it yours. And so we did. And I'm so happy that he allowed for that. I mean, we've already written so much together. We wrote Picture of a Man together. We wrote, although that was like really his baby that he brought to me. And then we wrote When the Tequila Runs Out together. Pretty much from beginning to end. We just like, we kind of sat across from each other for every single idea that goes into that song. And then there's been other times where we've worked on songs together. So for us to be doing Roll Tide still feels very much like it's within the Dawes language.
I'm sad about the messages you're sending. I'm sad about the shit we're doing wrong. I'm sad about the never-ending love we're in. We keep pissing on the fire, but it keeps burning so strong. Can we both just say I love you and get it on?
How'd you feel towards Roll Tide?
Great. I mean, that to me is like closer to how I wrote the song. Like the instrumentation and whatnot is different. Obviously, to me, just sitting there playing it on an acoustic, but that is more like how I wrote that song. How I envisioned it for them was much different. Like I was like, oh, if you guys, as I was thinking of like a rock, kind of like a jam. But they took it deeper into like the ballad territory. But I think it's breathtaking. It's fucked up.
I think we tried that one in an interesting way. I think initially we tried doing it, tracking piano and bass first, and Griffin singing to us, and then we decided to do it with drums because it felt like it needed, like that. As much of a ballad as it is, it still grooves really hard. Yeah. And so I really dug how we ended up finding that. And how the keys are much simpler on that, and I think it helps further to bring out Griff's vocal performance.
I'm asking now for reconciliation. I'm asking now for what we have to say. I'm asking now for both of us to do a little changing. I wanna dance with you in this quantum cabaret.
I feel like with the way Jason writes, it really works with Dawes. Like I sang that song at an acoustic thing, and like someone found the little. I was like scanning for phones. I didn't say here's a new song. I just went into it.
Right.
Actually, I did say I was like, anybody like college football? And I was like, woo! I started playing it. But and then they were psyched when they heard the words. And someone I guess caught a video, and someone put it on Twitter and was like, I want to dance with you forever in this quantum cabaret. Of course. Like, So they were like, this is obviously a Dawes song.
Right.
So I feel like the way he writes it really gels with the way I write.
Yeah.
In a way where he could write a whole album of Dawes songs and people would be like, yep.
I remember hearing George Harrison talk about his songwriting being obviously forever influenced and improved by being around Lennon and McCartney. You know, like if you're like, oh, I'm like playing guitar in this band, but I want to be a great songwriter, you're gonna pay attention to the fucking two behemoths that are writing songs like directly next to you. So I think I've always like, you know, Jenny Lewis, Connor Oberst, Taylor Goldsmith, Blake Mills, like all these people that I've been fortunate enough to be around and work with and play drums for and with have like, you know, influenced my songwriting to a massive degree. So it doesn't surprise me that I might write something that sounds like Taylor would write it, because he's a great songwriter and I pay attention to what he does. And that's a really beautiful feeling, to have something that you wrote taken into the arms of these other very creative, wonderful people, and like getting to see what they do with your thing that you created, you know? I mean, it's not as extreme, but it's like, oh, I fucking like had this baby, I gave it up for adoption, now I'm like meeting it, and it's like 15. I'm like, whoa, like that's what they did with you? Cool.
Classic tequila. Why didn't you say it sooner?
And I wrote that with Jason. We wrote it together. We actually didn't even really write the chorus together. We just made up the chorus together.
You know, it was a bunch of people hanging out after the show in like a little house, and we were like raging.
Like, you know, stayed up all night and hanging out and drinking and singing songs and stuff.
To catch Taylor at like 4 a.m. raging is a rare thing, you know? So it was a special night.
We got there late because we were still packing up and just kind of making sure all of our shit was together. And so by the time we got over to the party, there was a little bit of tequila and there was like a couple like bottles of champagne.
I had brought some like, not champagne, but like, you know, sparkling, dope, natural wine.
On top of the fridge or something.
And I had hidden it.
There's no beer, there's nothing else.
And we actually did run out of tequila. And I was like...
We both started singing, when the tequila runs out, we'll be drinking champagne. And like we kind of like go talk to other people at the party, and then we'd like cross each other in the hall and we'd screaming in each other's face. And then the next day, like, you know, hungover and tired, we both were like, that was fun to sing. That was like a cool line. Like, we should write a song.
When the tequila runs out, we'll be drinking champagne. When the tequila runs out, we'll be drinking champagne.
That one's crazy. That one might be one of the most different Dawes songs.
Yeah.
Dawes tracks.
Yeah.
Like, I think the bass line drives that song in a way that doesn't happen on the rest of the album. Not that, like, the bass drives every song, but that one is like, it's like a lead instrument.
It is a party. The arrangement is the party that the song is about.
That track just sounds amazing to me. It's just got so much shit going on it. You know what I mean? There's like, we had Keltner playing an MPC like loop. He came in for the whole day. We were all in there recording all day. Keltner's like in the corner on his headphones. We're like, what the fuck is this dude doing over there? He's like playing on like an Atari essentially. He's like over there just doing weird shit for hours and hours. And then finally at the end of the day, we had the track going. The track sounding cool. Everyone's doing weird shit. And then all of a sudden Keltner's like, all right, yeah, well, should we put down the loop I did? And you like press play on this loop that he created to like weave in and out at different parts of the songs, and it's just like completely insane. I feel like I don't even know if most people hear the shit that I know is on there when they listen to it, but you obviously just kind of get the vibe of it. But I mean, there's weird parts where you hear like, no, it's like weird kind of like jungle tribal voices and like Rugrats theme song going on in the background, dog barks and shit.
That one was rad to record because Jim Calvin was there. That's just fucking the best working with that dude.
And so that part like definitely made that track so crazy cool, and you can just kind of like pick little things out of it so many different times that you hear all super crazy. Blake played like insane sick guitar on it.
Sonically, that one's one of my favorites. I feel like it's got one of the best grooves. My intent, which may or may not come off at all, was to kind of put it in this in-between place that's like not fully swung, not fully straight, which kind of creates this like awkward feel, you know, but that still grooves, which I think it does. But yeah, that's like probably the scrappiest recording on the record, which I like.
Get a wah pedal in here.
Yes, that sounds so sick.
Yeah.
Yes.
When the tequila runs out, we'll be drinking champagne. When the tequila runs out, we'll be feeling no pain.
You know, when we were in the studio, we did it. We were singing all the choruses, like kind of as a gang or whatever. And then later we had Brittany and Jim James and Will Oldham come in when we weren't even there, and Blake just kind of had him stop by and sing on it. So it kind of like made the chorus. It was good. It's like that song, when it's already so crammed full of crazy sounds, it's like the more like new shit you can incorporate, it's kind of just like the better. You know what I mean? So it's just got like, you don't know who's fucking singing what. It's all over the place, and like the track is super crazy. The bass is like fully fuzzed out. All this like weird reverb guitar shit. It's cool.
He stopped in the middle and I all the way.
Yeah.
He said, you want? Yeah. He's gonna be a hit, man.
How do you feel towards working with Blake? I loved working with Blake. It's tough because he gets in on every level, but I think that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you hire someone. You don't. I would hate it if Blake were to have felt uncomfortable or less than thrilled about an aspect, but didn't want to engage with me about it. You know, he listens to music so closely, so I know that he has opinions on everything, and I know with us he shared them all. But yeah, I mean, I've always trusted his tastes.
Mm-hmm.
He's never, nothing that's been put out in the world with his name on it has ever been anything less than incredible.
It's rare when you find a producer that's actually like such an insane musician that you're completely willing to listen to every single one of their ideas, and if you don't agree with it at first, you're like, but let me also consider that this dude like knows what the fuck he's talking about. You know what I mean? It's not just some dude sitting back there being like maybe the chorus should be faster or something. You're like, who the fuck are you? But yeah, you know, all his ideas are definitely like, you know, very intelligent, like well thought out things, and as weird as the process is to get some of them sometimes, like, usually in the end you're like, holy shit, that worked.
I mean, I think the dude is a sponge, and even if you know what to expect, he's learning every step of the way. So it's crazy to just watch him like get better and better and better at something that's like already seemingly perfect.
How'd you like working with Blake?
Loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved it. It was great. It was deep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, watching him work and him with Greg, it's a deep process.
and he's so committed to being like innovative and to make sure something is coming from a new place. And not new in like, let's sound like 2016, but new in terms of let's do something that we've never heard before from anyone else. Just, you know, and it's not super precious or super serious. It's just, oh, here's a way to treat this that sounds weird and sounds different. And that seemed to be his way of thinking that he kind of engendered in all of us. And he looks at the instruments, I feel like he looks at instruments away from their kind of associations. And I guess what I mean by that is a lot of people would look at a guitar and be like, unless you do all this guitar playing that's like fast and bendy or whatever, then you're not playing the guitar. And if you're not playing organ with the Leslie when the chorus comes in big here and small here, and with, like, you're not playing the organ. And unless you have, you know, your kick, hi-hat, and snare, and you go around on the toms and you hit a crash, you're not playing the drums. And I think that's how a lot of people approach those instruments, ourselves included, where it's very much based on those associative powers. And I think Blake is like, well, that's a weird sound when you hit the top of the tom with a mallet and the side of the tom with a brush, and then you like step on a tambourine over here, and then for the snare drum we overdub this weird crack sound, like or whatever it is, and all of a sudden he's like reinvented the drums. He's taken what was in front of us and made new sounds out of it. And sometimes there'd be guitar riffs that I would be playing that I'd be proud of, you know, like, oh, this feels like a guitar riff because I'm doing these with these three notes right here, here, here. And he would sort of be like, well, why don't you just do this kind of more kind of obvious or in some cases like ignorant version of it. Like, yeah, let that string just ring out on top as if you didn't know to mute it, or whatever it would be in that particular example. And it would be like, wow, he doesn't think of the guitar. I mean, he can, because he's obviously a great guitar player, but he doesn't always think of the guitar as that thing, like the classic guitar. And he thinks of it as, here's a means of making new sounds. Here's a means of making noise.
That was the second arrangement. What you hear on the record is the second arrangement of that song. So we struggled with it a bit. It was very different before it became what it is.
For No Good Reason was the second song I wrote for this batch after Where I'm Gonna Die. So I felt like after having those two, I was like, okay, I'm cooking with gas. I like these two. And with For No Good Reason, I returned to sort of like, I don't know if this is cool to talk about in a movie like this or whatever, and like bring people in this part of the process or not. But I don't know. After writing certain songs of mine, like So Well or A Little Bit of Everything, I thought, like, you know what, like that sort of three vignettes, and then bringing it around to a certain title or something, like that's something that you hear like every other song sometimes with certain like writers like Chris Christopherson and writers that I love and grew up on and learned how to write because of, or songs like Slip Sliding Away or something. And I thought, like, I don't want to do that. And then I just felt like I was shooting myself in the foot because I felt like those ideas occurred to me, and I felt like those were good ideas for songs.
You know, it goes without saying, I love the way that one came out. I think that one, that one may have taken us the most amount of time and like searching.
That was one where we broke from the process that we had on every other song, which was let's go in and just listen to Taylor performing it. They had done a series of rehearsals before we went in to start tracking, primarily to just learn the framework of the song, but obviously that also resulted in coming up with a way of playing the song. So on every other track, I think we pretty much wiped that from the slate and came up with the arrangement in the studio from scratch. But this was one where they felt really good about what they had arrived at. So we started trying to follow that as a starting place, as a platform. And just different things about it weren't working for different people.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that it should be boom bap anymore. But the reason why we moved away from it was because, well, there's all this snare information which is going to sit right in the same part of the record, no matter what you do to it, except if you turn it down. It's going to sit with the vocal. And, and if we turn it down, that's going to make it not a rock.
Yeah, and I guess acoustic will have a lot to do with this, and however else we figure this out. But like, because if it turned into top, top, and then it's still like terrible.
Playing
Yeah.
16th notes on there,
Yeah.
and
So
even if I'm playing that beat, it's still gonna feel.
And after was found dead today. His Culver City home, and with no evidence of foul play, it seemed he'd acted on his own. The position of his body looked like he was reaching for the phone. Makes you wonder who he was gonna call. So the last lines like that, I feel like that, like it's not it is a little more playful, you know. Like there's, I feel like where we are, it's not like it's not like this occurred to me and I was like, oh fuck, we're in trouble. It was more just like, oh, I want to just temper that aspect of it, and if there's a way, bring out the fact that this is like, these aren't fun topics, you know.
Right. I think we've got to maybe hold off on this one until we get the vocal on it, because there's just too much. It's like trying to judge the take of Rolling Stone without the vocal. You kind of, I don't know if we know what we're looking for until we hear that combination. Because this could very well be to a beat, and I think that's maybe a product of the tempo.
For no good reason.
That one was good. By the end, I love the way that song ended up. That for me was one of the only songs that I was getting really, like, not frustrated with, but just it was hard for me to kind of get into it and get into my own part that I was playing on it. And we had a very different arrangement of that when we went into the studio to begin with. And then the version we started doing with Blake in the studio was again different. And then the version that ended up on the record was, again, infinitely different than all of those. And that was the one that took the longest, I'd say, to, like, know what we were going for and actually achieve it. We probably did, you know, I don't even know how many takes, but, you know, 20, 30 takes or something. It was getting crazy. We changed little things. Everyone was on board, but I still wasn't into it. Then we changed something else. I was on board. Other people weren't into it. So we kind of just had to wait until we found, like, the middle ground that kind of, like, pleased everyone, or, you know, the same amount. And I think it's great in the end. I think it was totally cool. And I think sometimes that's, like, you know, sometimes you go with the first arrangement of a song and it's perfect, and that's, like, why the arrangement's so cool, because you can tell it's just what everyone ended up on. It's like we hear a song that Taylor writes and we're like, it's going to sound like this. It's fucking, how else could it ever sound? Great. And we'll do it. And then there's other songs like that where it's good that we didn't go with the first arrangement we had of it, because I think by just, like, dissecting it and going back into it a million times, we actually found, like, a cooler version of it than we had.
that was like one of the most like atomized recordings in terms of like everything by itself. I mean, we tracked live, but it was like very specific parts each of us were playing live, and then everything built from there. So it was a significant difference from every other recording I think we've ever made.
There were also, I mean, like technically, instruments that I played on this record that I never really used much.
Mm-hmm.
The pianette I hadn't had much experience with, the ace tone, and some of the effects pedals, and just the chain that some of these things would go through was just a technical learning experience for me.
Settling their debts. Maybe all the pressure finally drove him to the wall. Maybe there were secrets that he needed to protect. But maybe it's for no good reason at all. Maybe it's for no good reason. For no good reason. For no good reason at all. Cool.
One idea is
Twitter. I've never had a song with a one-word title, so I was really excited about that. That meant a lot to me.
It was our first song, like I said, so it was like the first. We were so excited, obviously, to get in there and work with Blake, and that was the first taste of like how interesting his recording techniques are, him and Greg. So it was great, and I feel like you can kind of get that excitement in it. And I think it's kind of this like mishmash of, at least like percussively and like rhythmically, like what's going on. It's kind of like hard to differentiate one thing from another, which I think is rad.
I mean, the groove is definitely one of my favorites on the record because it is like roll down your window, drive around LA, like the breeze is coming in.
You're gonna have to quit everything until you find one thing you want.
I love us ending on an octave apart. Let's try it again.
Gonna have to quit everything until you find one thing you want.
I mean, the idea is pretty self-evident. Of you know, we all put so much stress on like stick with it. You know, don't give up. But sometimes something's just not right, and I don't think quitting or the word quit should be so stigmatized if you just like contextualize it correctly, because I don't think anyone should continue to do something that like is bad for them or doesn't bring them, you know, any sort of joy or any sort of power.
Quitter was a pretty good one to do. I liked it. It was, you know, it's cool. I feel like it's a very just like crunchy, like kind of like strange, like bayou kind of like a bayou robot. You know what I mean? It's just like got like a weird kind of like crunchy groove to it. Just kind of goes, makes me want to do this kind of. Yeah. had a good time with that one.
How did you feel towards working with Greg?
Greg is just, he understands things in a way that I never will.
He was so incredible with the things that he could hear. I mean, there would be stuff like, oh, we're using the wrong mic, and I would just, to myself, think like, what is he hearing there that I'm not hearing, that he is now hearing with this new mic? But, it ended up making for something that I think sounds so beautiful, so yeah, I know it's real. How did you like working with Greg?
Fucking epic. He's the greatest engineer I think I've ever worked with.
You never really saw him making moves, but at least I never did, because he comes in, he's so quick, especially in the control room at the board and all the outboard gear, but he'll hear something and then he'll just sneak out, move the mic, go back in, and it's just slamming. So he's kind of like sort of a wizard in that sense. Like it seems so easy for him and so quick.
Yeah.
From kind of a layman.
Right.
But he's doing so like hundreds and hundreds of things.
Yeah.
Like he just is, just so good at it.
Uh-huh.
And I just loved working with him because he really does capture people's personalities on their instruments well, in terms of like just the masterful way that he mics it, whatever. Like a lot of the acoustic guitars, like I feel like you can hear the personality of the player, which can get lost in the recording and the mix if it's not recorded right.
Greg was the man. Obviously, I felt like I cracked his nutshell very early on, I felt like we became friends. We would give each other gifts sometimes, and he's got incredible ears, which is all I can ask for. A dear friend with incredible ears.
The stars were just the holes punched in the shoebox that gives a creature all the air he needs to breathe. As if every constellation was just a form of inhalation, from a captor too enormous to conceive.
As if by design. Where do I begin?
That was a trippy one to record, because Blake was intent on having like kind of like a disjunct, is that a word? Rewind. Like a discordant feel, so everybody's kind of playing as if they were listening to different recordings with different feels, with different click tracks with different feels, which in fact we were. So Lee had like a one drop, and I had like totally straight time with like maybe like a fucking ounce of feel, and Wiley was listening like pretty much straight swung time, and I think Taylor's just listening to click.
All the years
When you stare off in the night, sometimes you see a little too much. Sometimes there's a world behind the mirror, sometimes a razor in a tube.
Oh shit.
Fleeting moments when the stars all seem alive.
That might have been the high one.
It all runs through your head.
Something like that.
Right.
That was the first song I wrote for all your favorite bands.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had that song for a long time.
Sometimes when a song that didn't make it to another record, it becomes even harder to rearrange because it's already sat in your brain for like a year. Or like it didn't make the record, but you have the arrangement that you had of it, and you love certain parts about it, and you don't like other parts, so you want to like keep the parts that you love, but really it's in the end it's just more important to kind of probably just ditch everything and just start from scratch, and anything you really liked will just end up back in there naturally, or it won't. It doesn't matter, And so we kind of just found a new arranger for that.
Thoughts? Maybe it's first part of the bridge.
With the rhythm.
Yes or no?
Until I'm looking for
Yes, that just sounded really different than when we just listened to it. That's where I think I should come in with the cloudy thing and then magic.
The recording of that one is mainly just all about how insane the piano playing. You know what I mean? It's just got crazy piano playing on it. So we were doing it. We did kind of a strange, like, stiffer, weird feel, kind of at Blake's request. We were all kind of listening to different things while we recorded it, and then none of us really had Pardini in there, and I think he went in afterwards, or maybe at the same time, but his piano part, we didn't hear it really until we got back into the control room, and it was just like...
The process for that one was as each one on the record was, but that one was one of the more interesting ones in that, you know, I'm sure the other guys have alluded to this, but we were all on like drastically different headphone worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Like we each had our own click track or drum loop that we were playing to, and like had no reference to what we could hear each other to an extent. I think I had drums all the way out, but I had this crazy sort of swung drum machine beat.
Mm-hmm.
Griff had a particular thing, and none of them were the same, and all of them were quite different from each other. And the first time you really hear it come together in the control room after you take it, it's like, oh my God, like, you know, we're all listening to different things, but then manage to all find this cool space, like rhythmically within the groove, and it works, and it feels great. I mean, that was Blake's idea, and it's one of those ones I think where like at the time we're just like, all right, man, hey, we're gonna see this through. We're all about seeing all these things through.
Yeah.
But what? And to hear it, how it turned out, it's like, well, all right, man. I mean, I would almost trust anything after that.
So after your melody, you're going back down to B? Can you go up?
Yeah, there's just other RDP.
That's okay. Especially with the glitz, it's great. It's so like fucking cruising, you know?
It's very sick sounding.
Top
dude.
down. Last song.
The fucking
And the
high
last song.
violins are so sick.
Yeah.
All right, man. That's that. Cool. I hope some of that's usable.
Yeah. All right, yeah, man. You got some fucking last words about fucking any of this stuff? This is.
No. Now we shoot the Cribs episode you came here for.
You know, I hope people and fans of Dawes can, and I don't think they'll have any problem seeing that, you know, as different as a lot of the things sound, that it's just still brought with the same highest standard of musicality.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing but like the most soulful intentions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, really digging down deep, and I think we did that a lot in the studio. You know, really kind of like inward searching,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, I think that's what makes it a great record. Everyone played their ass off, sang their ass off, wrote their ass off, you know.
Yeah.
Like, produced their ass off and engineered their ass off. Everyone has no asses left.
Yeah.
And that's how we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, all right.